Yeah, like you said, and same with Kendall, kids a lot of times do or say things without thinking about it. My priest, around the time of Halloween, he'll do a night at the church about the occult because, you know, he wants us to know, and a lot of kids he knows will go out and be like, oh, it's a spooky holiday, let's do something like with a Ouija board, or let's like mess around with evil powers. And so he did an info night to tell us like all the bad stuff that's out there. Watch out for this on Halloween, like don't do this, it seems like a fun game, but it's not. And he's actually said that he's gotten calls because kids were fooling around with Ouija boards and really bad things happened. And it really it freaked us out, but it made us realize like, wow, I guess there is something to this. Like you said, opening up the door for evil spirits in our world. But it's why it's so great that all of us, we have Jesus there. Like you have God to guard your heart, to protect us. And I know my sister and I do Liturgy of the Hours, and like the night prayers always say, like protect us against evil spirits, like guard our hearts, you know, be with us, Lord, as we sleep. We have God, and that's the greatest power of all. It's really important to remember that no matter what's out there, we have Jesus, and he's gonna keep us safe.
And Jesus was the greatest exorcist, you know, he drove out many demons in his time.
Yeah. Next, Dan gives us some ideas on how to combine some of the innocent and fun parts of the secular tradition.
By recognizing and celebrating the Catholic feast days of All Souls and All Saints.
If we look at Halloween as a holiday that as children is celebrated with the wearing of costumes and the giving of candy and the adventure of going out into the night, we place a mark on our children that lets them know that Halloween, that season, All Saints Day, All Souls Day, is a special time. And eventually, hopefully, through catechesis, through growing up Catholic, through growing up Christian, we begin to understand that there's more to the season than meets the eye. But I think what's most important is an understanding of the time period as being special and a celebration that is age appropriate to that time period. As a small child, you celebrate it one way. As a responsible adult Christian, you celebrate it a different way. Maybe you go out to that Halloween party the night before, but make sure you get to church the day after.
What are some of the ways that you have celebrated All Saints and All Souls Day?
Well, in my old middle school, they'd allow us, instead of dressing up in costumes, to dress up as saints or prophets or whatever. And one year, actually, one kid dressed up as the Pope, and we had a mass, and the priest had the kid dressed as the Pope go up with him to the altar and sit in like his own little throne. And it was kind of interesting, and it was kind of cute, because it was just a small little kid. I was like, ah, he's a little Pope.
Well, I've never really celebrated Halloween, like I said before, but my dad's Mexican. So what they do is the Day of the Dead, and they like go to the tombs of their loved ones that have passed away and like clean them off.
I know that like I have friends who've like visited, you know, graves of their loved ones, you know, in order to pay their respects, similar to like what you're saying. Usually probably brought like flowers and stuff.
Also, it's important to realize that All Saints Day is a holiday of obligation. So not only when we're thinking about our loved ones and visiting their graves and things like that, but we're having that time of prayer and reflection.
All Saints Day was established to counteract the ancient Celts feast called Samhain, which celebrated at the end of the summer.
The Celts believed that at this time of year, the border between this world and the world of the dead became thin, allowing harmful or harmless spirits to pass through.
So the church introduced All Saints Day or All Hallows Day to remove the fear of death and evil spirits.
And remind us to celebrate with the saints that Christ has conquered death.
Next, Dan tells us how we can celebrate this great reality of our faith on Halloween.
We can celebrate our faith in Halloween in a number of different ways. Praying together before we go out trick-or-treating is a great start. We might pray, we might talk about the events that are coming up, All Saints Day, All Souls Day. You might plan your evening for Halloween with the idea that you're going to be going to church together the next day. Why not do an all-night Halloween party with the plan of church at the end? You know, it's different, but it's something that draws us together in community, which is really what we're striving for when we go to Mass. I think if society as a whole had a better understanding of the deeper meaning behind Halloween, it might shift the way that they celebrate. I know for my celebration of Halloween, I like to remember all those people who were close to me. And that gives me a depth of understanding or a depth of knowledge about God and who He is and how He cares for me, to send all these great and wonderful people into my life.
I read this story one time about this woman who was inspired by a medieval tradition of begging for soul bread in exchange for prayers for the household's deceased. So what she does every Halloween is she sends her kids out with little prayer cards, and in exchange for candy, she gives them this prayer card for the household's deceased.
I really like that prayer is something that we could help everyone with, and it'd be really nice if everyone can do that.
I think a good way we can incorporate, our faith into Halloween would be sort of what Phil's doing, is dressing up as saints even. I think our friends, some of them might, judge us or, say, hey, why are you dressing up as a saint? But I mean, it would be a great way to explain to them how our faith plays into Halloween.
Actually, last Halloween, it was really funny. And when I went to work, I was dressed as Santa Claus, Saint Nick, and all the kids found that interesting. And then later in the day, I was dressed as Moses because I switched costumes. So I go around, and someone was like, oh, why'd you dress as saints today? I was like, why not? And a couple times my family actually would invite our priest friends to our Halloween parties with us. So that was always funny, having a priest there. Everyone's dressed in these random costumes, and you see this guy walk in, and they're like, oh, that's a great costume. They're like, no, this is my uniform.
I know that one thing that I do is that whenever it's All Souls Day, I will call the family members of people who are deceased. So I'll call my grandma because my grandfather passed away and just kind of remind her, hey, it's All Souls Day. Just wanted to let you know I'm thinking of Grandpa. And it kind of reminds other people too to, reflect on All Souls Day and the day and All Saints Day.
What if we dressed up as saints? Would that be an appropriate way to bring the holy back into Halloween?
What kind of response do you think we would get if we dressed as saints for Halloween?
That's what we asked the teens on the street.
I think they'll probably be like, okay, he's going as a saint. He's very religious. He's very, holy. He's not trying to go out here dressed up as, scary everybody, just boogeyman.
It's somewhat disrespectful for the way that Halloween's looked upon today, but I think people just look at it as, an ordinary costume.
You don't see that. It's not the normal Halloween costume.
Probably think that was just a costume, not think anything of it.
'Cause I have a lot of Christian friends, I'm guessing they probably wouldn't mind, but if I go to public school, so probably people would laugh, I guess, because that's not a typical costume.
My peers probably would think it's just nothing, another reason to get, dressed up and get drunk at a party. I've seen it millions of times.
They wouldn't care. They probably thought they were trying to be funny. It's supposed to just scary.
I think my friends would probably find it a little bit amusing, but knowing me and knowing that I'm actually religious, they probably wouldn't see anything wrong with it. And I would have to disagree with the guy who said that you have to dress scary for Halloween. I don't think you have to dress scary for Halloween.
I'm referred to as Phil Moses, and they say oh, you part the Red Sea when you're walking next to people because they move out of your way. So when as soon as they saw my costume, I didn't even have the tablet at the time. They were like, you're Moses, right? I was like, yep. But I have to say, if I could dress as any saint, I'd want to dress as Saint Francis of Assisi because he was the patron saint of animals or something. Yeah. I would walk around with a dog and a cat or something and a bunch of different animals, a bird perched on my shoulder. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, like I said earlier, you would think your friends would, judge you a little bit because not many people associate Halloween with, a religious aspect. But I mean, I think that if it were something I had done, I could honestly see myself trying to explain to my friends why I'm doing it. So I would definitely want to use it as a tool to spread religion in a sense.
My friends would just see it as just another costume, not really as something that's religious, so.
Can you guys think of any saints besides St. Francis that would be cool to dress up as for Halloween?
I think it'd be pretty cool to dress up like St. Michael the Archangel. I mean, because he's amazing, but also because for little boys to dress up as him because, little boys like to be like pirates with a sword or, big tough guys. This way they could be, they could have a sword and be all tough, but it would be, an amazing holy angel.
St. Michael the Archangel is one of the coolest angels. You're pretending to be an angel. It's so awesome. You're being one of Jesus' warriors.
Yeah, I know for me, I think I would dress up as St. Andrew. I mean, he's the patron saint of fishermen. I'd probably wear something similar to what Phil's wearing, maybe have a fishing rod or something, maybe have some fish slung over my back or something.
Yeah, I'd have to pick Saint Padre Pio because he was a crazy dude, and he's one of my favorite saints.
Yeah, I think it's really cool if you dressed up as St. Michael the Archangel on Halloween because he's the one who defeated Satan. So that would be a really bold way to get the message out, like we're trying to get Halloween back to the religious aspect. A deep part of our Catholic identity lies in the belief of the communion of saints.
We say in the Creed during Mass that we believe in the communion of saints.
The saints are in communion with God in heaven and therefore pray and intercede for us.
Praying with the saints is a powerful way to increase our prayer life.
And remembering and praying for all the souls who have died
reminds us of our mortality and that we'll all be united in Christ in heaven one day.
Halloween can be an opportunity to remember and celebrate these truths we profess as Catholics.
Halloween can also be a great teaching moment, as Dan tells us next.
I think Halloween is a great teaching moment. We go out as kids to go trick-or-treating and collecting candy. As adults and young teens or older teens, we go out sometimes to that Halloween party that some friend is having. But wouldn't it be an interesting way to end your night if, in remembrance of Halloween, in remembrance of the Christian holiday, you were to get together and at the end of the night just took turns talking about someone who mattered greatly in our lives, someone who you lost in your life that was really significant. That night changes from a secular event to a spiritual celebration. You're together as Christians celebrating the holiday and growing in your faith. Even if it's not a direct catechesis night or a night of theology or a religion class, you're gaining the knowledge of how others have coped with loss and of the beautiful people that others have experienced in their life.
One way that we can always try to keep Halloween holy is by behaving. I think as Christians we should realize that it's important to always, have that Christian sense of moral and morality. And if you look at the Ten Commandments, I mean, one way we want to behave is by, being respectful of the people we're around and by not stealing and by not being mischievous on mischief night and things like that, by just being a good person and not participating in negative things in that time.
Yeah, and certainly dress up in a respectful costume, especially not like the devil.
And you got to remember on All Souls Day to pray for the departed, the dearly departed. And definitely remember on All Saints Day, well, the saints are awesome. You always got to remember those guys and always ask them for help if you need it.
Halloween is a great time to witness our faith.
Whatever masks and costumes we wear, whether you're an angel
or Abraham Lincoln, we can't hide the fact that we are children of God, followers of Christ.
Whatever we are doing, we should be witnesses to our faith.
Just like we want to keep Christ in Christmas.
We should also keep the hallow or holy in Halloween.
So how have you celebrated the real meaning of Halloween?
We'd love to hear from you.
Contact us at RealfaithTV.com.
Or follow us on Twitter.
And we'll leave you with this passage.
May you be made strong with all the strength that comes from His glorious power.
And may you be prepared to endure everything with patience,
while joyfully giving thanks to the Father, who has enabled you to share in the inheritance of the saints in the light.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV. God bless.
Or scored 7 years ago.